despicable. And a man like that who...
In other words, you're saying that woman should not have had the child, but
No,
Supergirl didn't want the kid either.
Well, I understand that, but I'm sure that there's thousands of people out there who would be willing to adopt a child like that, who would really love them and take care of the child. I don't think she deserves him.
All right.
Being that way.
Dan?
Well, I do think a child deserves two parents from the very beginning.
If possible, yes.
And so I kind of like the thrust of that idea.
It's just despicable. I think men and women, I think God meant for us to get along. And I think the mistake that some of the women liberals make, at least the most radical ones, they make it sound like they want to throw the man out with all the problems.
But Jackie, how about a guy that says, hey, with all the chances I had, helping a couple women with a couple abortions ain't bad?
Well, I can't say I'm completely against abortion. I don't like the idea, but I can see where a woman gets in that. But I would still consult the man if anything like that had ever happened to me, because it's his child, too, and I really believe that.
Dan?
I don't like the idea that a husband can't have this discussed with him.
Another issue you brought up was the fact that a lot of women in the women's movement sound as though they want to throw the man out, and I agree with that. There's been a lot of moral superiority from the women's movement, and we deserve our rights, give us our rights, and you don't need anything, you're strong. Well, that's the stereotype again. Men are strong and silent, and they can take it. Well, and there's this whole thing of I saw a button the other day, clean up politics, elect women. So any man who's in politics is a dirty guy and practices dirty politics. That seems to be what they're saying. And I'm not crazy about that, but it seems to be another stereotypical idea that women are superior morally.
Well, I've taught school for about 7 years, and I know many women teachers who would prefer a room full of boys to a room full of girls. The boys will be nice and maybe more noisy sometimes, but they will shut up once in a while, and they don't hold grudges. If you had a fight with him, the girl may not talk to you for 2 weeks. The boy's hugging you 10 minutes later. He's forgotten about it.
Jackie, thank you for the call.
Okay.
Thank you. 591-5656, the number to call.
Getting proper health care today can be exhausting and sometimes confusing. With all the many specialists and traveling to different doctors, the Sunnyside Medical Group in Summit would like you to know that their medical center is a complete health care facility. Highly accredited doctors are on staff to serve your entire family's health care needs. There are physicians who have specialty practices in cardiology, internal medicine, urology, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, and surgery. Or if you have a doctor and he wants you to have an X-ray, blood test, complete GI, physical or respiratory therapy, Sunnyside has all the equipment and laboratory facilities necessary. Plus, Sunnyside has an emergency room that's open 6 days a week from 7:30 a.m. to midnight weekdays and 8 to 5 on Saturday. Every year, Sunnyside treats thousands of people who don't require overnight hospital care. Call Sunnyside Medical in Summit today to find out more about their health care services and facilities. Call 458-0170. That's 458-0170.
Pry up old flooring, open stuck windows, and more with the Master Mechanic 12-inch steel ripping bar, value priced at just $5.29, exclusively at participating True Value hardware stores and home center.
Okay, can you give me one word that describes the Oak Park Mall?
Well, let's see. How about shopping?
Good.
No, browsing. Wait, strolling.
Well, excellent.
Fine. Surprising. Inviting, entertaining, accommodating, exhilarating, friendly, beautiful. Outdoor.
Okay, that's more than one word.
Well, the Oak Park Mall is just not a one-word mall.
The Oak Park Mall, Lake Street and Harlem Avenue. Discover it.
213.5, 75 degrees at O'Hare, 70 at the lake, also 75 at Midway, 48% the humidity. A nice day, upper 70s today, mid-60s tonight. Tomorrow, near 80, and some late afternoon showers or thunderstorms are in the prediction. My guest is Dan Logan, Executive Director of Free Men. It is a men's rights organization, and you can write to him at 212 10th Street, Southeast, Washington, D.C., 20003. Joyce, you're calling from Antioch. Let's get the toll charges down.
Outside of Antioch. Well, I have a problem. I can't understand where you gentlemen are coming from when women's rights to have abortions are being challenged.
Ask the question again, Joyce. Where are women's rights?
Right, when women are being challenged as to their legal rights to having abortions.
All I don't understand what's your problem with his position.
Well,
In other words, I need a little more definition of you know.
all right. I'm a grandmother, which is in a situation. I'm faced on both sides. I have a daughter that has had a child that the father has no responsibility for. I am faced also, on the other hand, with a son that has a child that he takes no responsibilities for.
So you see both sides of the issue.
That's right. And as a grandparent, I have no rights. I cannot understand if my daughter were to have an abortion, which at the time, her child is now 5 years old. She had nowhere to go. No place to go to have an abortion. And the male has taken no responsibilities for this child whatsoever. And I can't see all this with this father's rights when men can impregnate a woman, turn away, have no responsibility,
and walk off.
And where does a woman go?
Okay. Do you have any comment on that, Dan?
Again, I want to say I'm for equal rights and equal responsibilities for both genders, both men and women. I don't want to say, I don't have any sympathy for a man who doesn't take responsibility for his children. On the other hand, a man ought to have the opportunity to say something about abortion, and a man ought to take responsibility for birth control. I agree with that.
Okay, thank you very much for that comment. Ann, you're on WIND.
Well, part of what I was going to say has just been said, is that both men and women have a choice. They can both practice birth control, and therefore then they know they are not the parent of that child if it's a illegal paternity suit. Also, we have older men as judges usually, and years ago I don't believe the men wanted any part of that child, but I think the new generation does. They have to educate those judges too to that they want
In other words, there has to be a change in attitude.
Change in attitudes of everybody.
I think Dan would agree with that. In other words, the reason that Dan is here, some of the things he's saying really haven't been brought into public focus much before, which is the sexism as it applies to men before the courts.
You see, it's interesting that there are male judges who are denying men custody. It's sort of the same situation. The draft is a burden on men, and yet men went to court. Jimmy Carter proposed that it be made equal and women be drafted as well, and a predominantly male House and Senate voted overwhelmingly against it, and an all-male Supreme Court upheld that. So we seem to have this idea in our minds that a gender stereotype is our job. In the case of men, it's to be the provider and the protector, and we are not to take over the woman's job, which is child rearer. I would like to see us loosen the hold of those stereotypes and be more flexible and have maximum options for everybody.
All right, thank you very much for that call. And Dan, thanks for stopping by today to enunciate some of the issues in the men's movement. His name is Dan Logan, Logan, Executive Director of Free Men. Many people wanted to get on and couldn't. If you wish to write to him or get involved in what he's involved in, you would write to 212 10th Street Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20003. It is an issue that we have not put to rest, and I suspect we will speak about more in the future. Dan, thank you very much.
Thanks, Norman. I enjoyed it.
Bye-bye.
Imagine, if you will, a half-gallon of your favorite Hill Farm ice cream. Now, imagine you can have this ice cream free. This startling assault on your powers of imagination is brought to you by First Federal's amazing Savers Card. A card that gives you access to the Yes system in 181 Chicagoland jewel stores to make deposits, withdrawals, even cash checks at any jewel, all while your money earns 5.5%. To get this card, open a Savers Card account at First Federal or transform your existing account to a Savers Card. Then not only will you be able to turn jewel stores into First Federals at will, you'll also get a half-gallon of Hill Farm ice cream. Free.
First Federal Savers Card, now good at 181 Chicagoland Jewel food stores. Open a Savers Card account in August and get a coupon for a free half-gallon of Jewel's Hill Farm ice cream. First Federal of Chicago, now more convenient than ever.
For you out-of-town listeners who are planning a trip to Chicago, one thing you must do while you're here in Chicago, and that's spend an evening at the Como Inn at 546 North Milwaukee Avenue. The Como Inn, since 1924, they've always been one of Chicago's finest restaurants. Their extensive menu offers not only a variety of the finest Italian cuisine available in Chicago, but prime steaks and a vast selection of seafood and shellfish. You know, the Como Inn is truly a unique place to dine. It has that international atmosphere, yet with its own original decor, representing Chicago as it was, and as it is today. Warm, friendly service that makes your leisurely dining a true dining pleasure. There's nothing else like it in Chicago. So to make your visit to Chicago complete and an experience you'll long remember, come to the Como Inn at 546 North Milwaukee Avenue, just off the Kennedy Expressway at the Ohio Street exit on the corner of Ohio and Milwaukee. When you're in Chicago, it's the Como for dining at its very best.
And right now it is 2:20 in Chicago. Going to talk to the writer of a first novel that is romantic and that has got a tremendous play on it. And we're going to talk about May-December romances and marriages and how you write romances and just how romantic are we. And if you are interested in romance and romances and romantic books and we have a question or a comment for Lee Rothschild, why don't you give me a call on 591-5656. That's the number to call.
United Charities Family Service Bureau is a network of offices and family centers providing counseling and group services. Hello, this is Jack Stockton. And in addition to individual and family counseling, United Charities offers services for the aged, financial counseling, legal aid, social policy, and camping programs to 30,000 area residents each year. United Charities is the Midwest's oldest and largest family service agency. For more information, contact United Charities in Chicago. This message from United Charities and WIND, Talk Radio 56.
And it's 2:21 75 degrees at O'Hare, 70 at the lake, and 75 at Midway. A gorgeous afternoon tonight, mid-60s. Tomorrow, 80 and maybe an afternoon shower or thunder shower.
Everybody likes a good success story, so I'd like to tell you one. 10 years ago, a totally new system of selling furniture came to Chicago, and it caught on so quickly that today the system outsells every other furniture store in town. The name? Homemakers. Like all good ideas, the Homemaker system is really quite simple. We put a fully automated warehouse right next to our showroom. That way we can offer a tremendous selection of fine quality brand name furniture at prices far below regular retail. Prices as lower than even sale prices elsewhere. And you can have your furniture right away too, because we've got most everything in stock right there in our warehouse. So the Homemaker system saves you money and it saves you time. Come to Homemakers at Woodfield, Downers Grove, Orland Square, or our new store in Chicago at 825 West North Avenue.
Homemaker.
Not low-priced furniture.
Homemaker.
Good furniture at low prices.
Homemaker.
An affiliate of John M. Smith.
Legionnaires, listen up at 3 o'clock. Jack Stockton will talk to Jack Flint about the annual convention of the American Legion, which is being held in Chicago. Lee, does love really have no boundaries? Lee Rothschild?
Absolutely. Love has no boundaries. That's an absolute universal truth.
That's absolutely the truth. I am fascinated. I'm holding the book in front of me. I'm talking with Lee Rothschild, who has written a book called Love Has No Boundaries. And as I shared with Jim Elliott, in the first place, this book is allegedly your own story. We want to find out about that. It is a first romantic novel, or any book, as far as is known by Cherelle Publishing, to be printed on pink paper and on a specially concocted shade of lavender ink. Steamy, steamy, steamy. Lee, why the pink paper and the lavender ink?
Well, pink is a very warm color. I happen to have had my personal color palette done by Suzanne, who was a pioneer of doing all the color palettes.
What is a color? What is a color palette?
A color palette is a study of the colors which are best for you and which best exemplify your personality and your way of expressing yourself, so that you can be in harmony with your fellow man and with nature. So pink is a very warm and loving color. Lavender or purple is a very giving color. It's also a royal color. It's also an ecclesiastical color. So I thought that the story is so unique that I wanted to present it in a very unique fashion. And that's why I decided to choose the pink paper and the lavender ink.
Okay. Essentially, Love Has No Boundaries is the story about a young woman uprooted in a new town, going to work in an advertising agency, meeting and falling into an intense romance with her older almost mentor the person who runs the advertising agency. Is there any truth in fact of this fiction, Lee?
Yes, there is. I always like to say a writer never knows where fact ends and then fiction begins, and vice versa. But it is semi-autobiographical. I don't want to tell you how much is actually fact and fiction, but I think...
I was going to refer to specific passages if you like.
Well, I might tell you. I have lots of fun letting people try to figure out what's fact and what's fiction, but there is a great deal of truth. The fact that he was such a romanticist, and we had a near-perfect marriage.
Reaching for Elizabeth's hands, he pulled her up from the couch, and they walked slowly to the door, each struggling with the intensity of their passion. Elizabeth, Charles whispered as he pulled her hair away from her left ear, "You are lovely." Turning the handle of the door to leave, he asked, "When may I see you again?" "Whenever you wish," was Elizabeth's answer. And there was the beginning of the awakening of sultry passions and desires men yearn to seize and to conquer. Elizabeth sounds like quite a person.
Well, Charles was quite a person, and I think for any one of us, particularly, I speak particularly for women now, for any of us to become the best person we possibly can be, we need someone else to help us bring all the attributes that we have in us. We need someone to help us bring those to the front.
All right, 591-5656, talking about something that is very, very popular in literature today, and that is the romance novel. Oh, this is a very special one. Love Has No Boundaries, on pink paper in a special shade of pink ink by Lee Rothschild. It's a newly released book, and if you'd like to call in and have a question or a comment of Lee, or if you have comments about other such books, is it difficult to write a romance?
Well, I always say, for me, it's difficult to write any time because I think there's a great deal of discipline required. The writing is not so hard, but the discipline is. I always think if you can feel, you can write, and I feel a good writer has to feel what he or she writes about. And certainly, I felt this romance to the tips of my toes, and I'm still enjoying it.
Elizabeth and Charles dined that night as kings and queens dine every night. They ate, they laughed, they danced, and afterwards they were alone with only the glow of the candles and the fragrance of the roses. "Elizabeth, Elizabeth," Charles whispered, "I love you. I love you. God, I love you. I want you. All of you, Elizabeth." Elizabeth, almost limp with desire and struggling with her conscience, moved to the other side of the room. Gets very steamy there, Lee. It really
God,
does.
I'm getting all excited just listening to you tell it to me. You're beginning to sound like Charles.
"Elizabeth, I am falling in love with you. I know it's ridiculous. I'm old enough to be your father, your grandfather, but when I am with you, I do not feel old. Please, Elizabeth, let me finish. I've spent days and nights trying to climb inside my soul, trying to understand what is happening between us." Is this? I have only read very few of such books. I assume you have read more than I. Is this the way that these books go, with intense but slightly unrequited passion until the very end of the book?
No, most of them. I don't read as many because I don't want to plagiarize myself. Mine is different. Because I believe in the virtuous woman, and so the passions are not fulfilled until...
No, she moves across the room.
Pardon me?
She feels all this passion, and she moves across the room. It's hard to fulfill at that point.
Yes. Well, is that difficult for you to believe? Is that difficult for most men to believe?
No.
Because,
no, I wasn't bringing it out not to believe it. I think it's possible.
Everything is so free now, and I disagree with all the freedom there is now. I think I think that we've lost a lot of romance and a lot of respect and a lot of things that can happen beautifully because everything is so free now. There's not because it's so free, but because we have detached responsibility from it.
All right, we're talking about romance in the modern age, and we're talking about a romance novel with Lee Rothschild, who wrote Love Has No Boundaries. Tom, I'd like to get you on the air with Lee. I'm going into a newscast right now. You've identified yourself as a professor of literature at Northwestern. Could you just hold on?
Listen, on the air, please don't mention the university.
Oh, okay. But I just did, and it was on the air. Tom, can I? But we only used your first name. Can I hold you for just a few seconds while we break for the newscast? And Lee, could I hold you as well?
Absolutely.
All right. We will break for news, and we're going to continue to talk about a specific romance novel, romance in general, May-December marriages, men in romance and women in romance, and if you have comments about such novels and why one reads them or why one doesn't, 591-5656 would be the number to call. And please call in after we break for ABC News at 2:30.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Jerry Hamilton. The architect of Israel's invasion of Lebanon, Defense Minister Ariel Sharon, said today his country has won a major victory in getting the PLO guerrillas to leave Lebanon.
The expulsion of the PLO terrorists starting today is a major victory against regional and international terrorism.
The PLO doesn't see it that way. ABC's Peter Jennings in Beirut says the guerrillas view the evacuation, which began today, as just a temporary setback in the long battle for recognition.
If there was any remorse or sadness or feeling of defeat at the hands of the Israelis, it was not uniform. Most fighters will reflect the PLO official line, they won a victory. No other Arab army has fought the Israelis so long, and these men, for the most part, believe they did prevent the Israelis from entering West Beirut and operating at will.
Correspondent Jennings says PLO leaders will now ask Arab leaders to give them more support as they try to regroup and renew their fight against Israel. The people of Cyprus, who will receive the first batch of PLO guerrillas, are...
It is getting better now. Thank God for that.
Unfortunately, our society puts such a high premium on success that we don't teach people how to deal with a situation where we're not successful. And we're brought up in our society to feel that there's something morally wrong with you if you're not constantly successful, if you have a setback. And it's important, especially in these economic times, for people not to blame themselves and to realize that it's not them, that it's the system, that it's the times. And we tend to be our own worst critics and take it and judge ourselves too harshly. And everyone, no matter how successful a person seems, we've all had situations in our lives that have been depressing, at times where we have not been successful, where we have been rejected, whether it's in business or love or whatever. And one of the unfortunate things about our American society, we stress competition so much in being number one, and we tend to divide people into winners and losers, which we should not be doing, because all of us, no matter how successful we appear to the outside world, we all know in our heart of hearts that at one time or another, we have been a loser. We have been rejected. We have had bad things happen to us. And when this happens, at least I know in my own life, when I'm in a low period, I remember something from Love Story by Eric Siegel. And in the book he said, it was a distinctly Harvard thing to be able to turn any defeat into a victory. Now, I didn't go to Harvard, and most of us out there didn't. But when you're in a bad time, when you're in a situation where you're not being as successful as you would like, or you're feeling rejected, you have to look at that situation and think, what can I learn from this so that I can maybe prevent this from happening to me again, or at least alleviate some of the negative consequences, and how can it make me a better person, and how can I use this as a learning experience? And try not to blame it on yourself. I know that's easier to say than to follow. And, realize maybe, sometimes it's just the climate of the country or whatever, and it's really not your fault. We tend to blame things on ourselves too much, too often, and we've got to get away from doing that.
Yes, I agree with that.
And is your husband listening?
No.
Well, I hope you can impart some of these things to him.
Yes, I'll do that.
And good luck. Thank you very much for calling. Bye-bye. It's now midnight here in Chicago. I'm Lana Saunders. This is WIND. I'd like to say thanks to my producer, Karen Williams, my associate producer, Ellen Holbrook, and have a good week. It's going to be sunny tomorrow. tomorrow. However, there will be evening showers and thunder showers also in the afternoon. Monday, partly sunny and cool. Highs on Monday going up to the 70s. This evening, lows going down to 60. This is WIND Chicago. Now coming up, William Rusher with the Group W commentary.
The struggle over the so-called $99 billion tax increase has ended, and it seems that the government is going to go after tips and lay off the deductibility of business lunches for a while longer. But while the battle is fresh in all our minds, I'd like to go on record one more time as saying I think there's no reason in the world why tips shouldn't be taxed like any other kind of income, which they most certainly are, and that while legitimate business expenses ought perhaps to be deductible, the whole subject of deductible expenses, including lunches, but also dinners and all sorts of entertainment, has been abused beyond any possible justification or excuse. Tips have escaped taxation because they used to be, and in many cases still are, paid in cash, which is hard to trace. But increasingly, tips are now recorded on credit card vouchers, and these can certainly be taxed. In addition, an arbitrary percentage based on experience and not too high could be assumed to have been paid in cash situations. The trouble with even legitimate business deductions is that so much of a businessman's day is involved in one way or another with his business. The car or taxi he rides in, the meals or entertainment he buys for others, the dues at the golf club he belongs to, and so on. Either we should reduce his tax bracket substantially and then prohibit any deductions whatever, or we should find some way of making his company or employer an adversary in this matter of phony expenses rather than just a cooperative friend. This is William Rusher.
Patients suspect, and doctors know, that the mere act of going to a clinic or a doctor's office can change a person's blood pressure reading from what it would be in familiar home surroundings. So some doctors are advising patients to learn how to take their own blood pressures at home, and reports are that the idea is working out well. Dr. Christopher Cottier of the University of Michigan School of Medicine studied a group of patients with borderline high blood pressure, that is, pressure hovering around 150/90. There were 15 men and 1 woman in the group, ranging in age from 24 to 47 years. It took about 20 minutes to teach the patients how to make a blood pressure reading, and then they were allowed to monitor changes at home. Dr. Steve O'Julius, also of the Michigan Medical School, says blood pressure readings in a doctor's office are not only higher as a rule, but are more variable than those taken at home. William Hines, Group W Medical Correspondent.
Save a Pet is a non-profit organization dedicated to the welfare of animals. Hello, this is Jack Stockton, and I'd like to remind you that the Save a Pet kennels need donations of paper towels, canned and dried dog and cat food, plastic garbage bags, and most of all, they need you to volunteer your time for the care of homeless animals. Volunteers are the lifeline of the Save a Pet shelter. For more information, contact the Save a Pet shelter in Highland Park. This message from the Save a Pet shelter and WIND Talk Radio 56.
Somewhere deep in Lake Michigan, there's a fish swimming around worth $1 million. His name is Big Fin. And if you catch him between September 1st and 8th, you'll win $1 million. Just make a charitable contribution of $10 or more to Big Brothers and Big Sisters. See the Chicago Sun-Times for details. Then catch Big Fin and win $1 million just by going fishing.
WIND reminds you that the Chicago Historical Society presents Inside State Street, color photographs of building interiors by Kathleen Collins. For information, call the Chicago Historical Society.
Polk Brothers has learned that one of the joys of offering brand name products is the confidence Polk Brothers and you can enjoy not only in the built-in quality, but also in how those manufacturers back their products up. Amana microwave ovens are made so well that Amana has established a limited 10-year warranty on the important magnetron tube and stainless steel interior. 10 years. Outstanding. But there's more. When Mom buys an Amana at Polk Brothers, she's invited to attend a free cooking school held at Amana's own branch kitchen. She learns how to cook any meal, how to defrost, do her own favorite recipes the microwave way, different accessories and how to use them. And we haven't even mentioned the low Polk discount price, trade-in allowances, free Polk delivery, shopping time till 10 weeknights till 6 on Sunday. Why not bring the family to see the amazing Amano microwaves at Polk Brothers this evening? And you can charge it at Polk Brothers.
Good morning. It's 5 minutes after the hour of midnight, 12:05. I'm Jolly Putman.